All right, so good. So first we come to our seated space. Yeah, grab any props that we want. And we're going to begin here. I want you to make sure that you're comfortable. You might even sit so that you've got your knees a little bit lower than the hips. Very good. And we might close the eyes. So we just take a moment and we're scanning the body. So notice how we feel: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Now let's gently bring the hands to the heart. And what I want us to do is I want us to be setting our intention, and we're dedicating our practice. But remember today that it is rooted in this sankalpa, this seed. And so we may even already be thinking about that sankalpa, that seed that we wish to plant. And even the way that we phrase our sankalpa is important. We put it into a more present tense. So instead of saying, I want to be a good partner, you say, I am a good partner. Instead of saying, I want to be a good parent, you say, I am a good parent. The things that we do, the things that we say, the energetic arrows that we shoot, they really matter. So we set intention and awareness of that sankalpa. And very gentle. Let's release the hands. Good. Super, super slow. That's the way. I want you to start today. I want you to first come to child's pose. And this has a couple different options. So you might do the knees together. You might have the knees apart. If you come to this one with those knees together and it's like really pinching in the front, it might be better to have the knees apart. Yeah, and really use the prop. So any variation that we want, we're going to do a couple minutes there. So just find that first shape. Yin is the perfect prep for Nidra. Just keep softening in. Notice if you feel a lot of stretch in the back, or maybe it's all like in the top of the feet. You start to move the body from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic. And so we're moving our system into that rest and digest, just calming the body. the face soft. Just keep letting go. Very good. Now, super gentle release, slow. Maybe do like cat, cow, dog. Yeah, anything that we want in between. Yin is such a good way to prep the body and the mind for going into Nidra. And one thing that I realized as I was learning more about Nidra and neurobiology of sleep is that I think a lot of us, when we come to yoga, even if it's vinyasa, I think that what the body loves is Shavasana and it's looking for Nidra. I think that's a lot of it. And so we experience, these minutes of, sort of magic, and what the body looks for again is that. So what Nidra is a longer hold in this space. So here we're just really going to get the body ready for that. Okay, come to seated. We might feel hamstrings in the next one, like those large muscles in the back leg. We also might feel the back. So take that right leg maybe forward, and you could pull like the left foot into midline. Some of you will find, just because of bones, it actually might be better to do the left knee bent, and you'd still go over that right leg, but that's just a different skeletal variation on the left side. So yeah, whichever one works best. We'll do a couple minutes there. Yeah, listen to your own body. Some of you might grab that strap. With both meditation and with Nidra, it's like if we're not in the right space, or if we're not like physically comfortable, then it can be very challenging to sit for a long period or to lay. It may be more comfortable for a lot of bodies to do Nidra, though, compared to a seated meditation. And a lot of people are finding their meditation in a more Nidra practice. If you find that lying on the back is the fastest way to find meditation, then that's the way to do it. A lot of people are finding that. Just keep breathing. Keep breathing here. Notice if you feel it more in the back, or if it's more in the back of the leg. Keep the face soft. Just keep breathing. Very good. Now you're going to release there and just go super, super slow. Yeah, that can be intense. So just go very, very gentle. We might go on to the back. You could also do like cat, cow, dog, whatever you want in between. Ancient yoga looked a lot like yin. Remember that everything started with 500 years of seated meditation, and there was nothing else for 500 years. But when the shapes did start to emerge, they looked a lot like yin. And of the first 12 poses, that final pose was always Shavasana. So, really early on, right, there was awareness of Shavasana and of the Nidra quality. Okay, I want you to switch sides, take it slow. Yeah, any props that we want. This one might be different. So just really gentle. We'll do a couple minutes here. The face soft. The physical practices of yoga. This all falls into that realm of the first sort of small slice within that Om, and meaning that our physical practices really, they're just the smallest slice. And what yoga says and what, neurobiology says for real, this is true, is that really just the being awake is the smallest slice. Where a lot of tremendous things are happening is when we're asleep, when we're dreaming, right? And so we are starting to value not just relaxation, but really value sleep. Good. Just keep breathing. Notice if we feel it more in the back or if it's more in the hammies, back of that leg. Let's keep the face very soft. Just keep letting go. Remember that yin and restorative, it's the boredom, the kind of space in between that actually helps us to sleep. Just keep breathing. So that's for second sides. We release, take it super, super slow. Yeah. Again, anything that you want in between. So we're prepping the body, we're prepping the mind. We get to know, do we hold tension in certain areas? To practice Nidra, we bring the body, into Shavasana. So we have to clear the system. If we have a lot of tension somewhere, we might, be like hyper aware of that when we come to that final space. Okay, what I want you to do next, couple choices. You might take the legs wide and do that fold. So that would be like the inner leg. If you love that one with the feet together, if you want to do this one instead, you can totally do that one. These are interesting. You might feel it more in the back or inner leg. And yeah, whichever piece you want to do, we'll go there next. Awesome. Many of the things that we had sort of assumed about sleep were not correct. And so we had always assumed that when we saw people twitching and moving, that they must be dreaming. But it's actually the opposite is true, because when you dream, that's when all your muscles completely shut down. And it's actually in the NREM where we'll see more of the twitching in the muscles. So we're learning a great deal more about sleep, about dreams. But what yoga has said for so long is that with that awareness of dreams and these other spaces, that we're able to live a better, richer life. And everything that we know now with the work of Dr. Walker, it confirms that, because his theory is that really like the missing link is the dream realm of humans. So as you're breathing here, know that Walker's theory is that our access, or the access to fire, greatly changed the brain, and it changed it quickly, because this allowed us to come out of the trees. This allowed fumigation from bugs at night. It was heat, it was light, and it was a big deal for keeping large predators away. And all those things added up to being able to sleep, and to sleep for longer periods, and to dream, and to dream in a very rich and different way than any other creature dreams. So it's fascinating that yogis started to realize being aware awake was huge, but there was even this way to become aware like when we're asleep, which is so profound because they didn't have MRI scans, right? They didn't have technology to be able to understand it. They were just meditating, they were just practicing, and that was the experience. Just keep observing. Remember that of all of our practices that we work with the body and the mind awake, this is just the beginning, right? There's this whole other realm of work that we're doing when we're asleep. Mhm. Just keep breathing. You might go a tiny bit deeper. Okay, excellent. Now gentle, gentle release there. Yeah, take it slow. That can be intense. Anything you want in between. You might do like, cat, cow, dog. You might take a moment on the back. Sometimes we feel like clicking, popping, movement. Yeah, just notice all of that. Many of you have probably experienced Nidra, even if we didn't know that it happened. So here's the example I give. If you've ever like been in a room where like other people are there and maybe like, you were like sleeping on a couch or something, there's this moment where you're like not really awake anymore and you're not asleep. You can like maybe sort of like hear people and it's like you're in this sort of space between. And often it feels just so wonderful. Like it's like this glorious feeling, but it's very hard to sort of hold on to that because we quickly go into sleep. So part of what happens when we practice Nidra is we're training ourselves to hold that space. But every time we sleep at night, we can also work on that. So when we come to bed, we can take Shavasana basically and see if as we go to sleep, if we can work on kind of holding that space a little bit longer. Yeah. Okay, let's do this. I want you to grab a strap, if we've got a strap or like a towel. Yeah, anything at all will work. Even like a little kitchen towel works great. So grab something. We're going to do just a piece for the arms. You might not feel any tension in the arms, but sometimes we hold a lot of tension here. So we're just going to look at this. We're going to mix in a couple different pieces. Okay, if you're using a strap or a towel, I want you to come. You could sit on the shins. You could also do this seated. So whatever is comfortable. You could even do it standing if you want. Okay, right arm is going to go up. And then I want you to bend your right elbow and we're going to reach this left arm back. I'm going to show you from the back. It's very different for every single person. So it might be like here, you might inch the hands a little closer. Some of you won't need that. You might just clasp the hands. Yeah, whatever you're working on. I'm just going to give us like a minute on each side. Keep the face soft and we're breathing here. The arms tend to be pretty different. Notice details in the body. Okay, good. Now exhale. As you release that first side, just go super, super slow. Yeah. Let's look at the other side. When we're ready, we'll take that strap in the other arm. So we'll bend that left elbow. We're going to reach that right arm back. We'll do the same. We'll do a minute here. Studies show us very interesting things about when the brain is in Nidra. And one of the best parts about Nidra is that because you're just laying there, it's actually really easy to brain scan people in Nidra. And one great find has been that even just like 20 minutes in Nidra gives you a 65% increase in dopamine, which helped us to understand one of the reasons it's so helpful for a lot of us that are addicts. So we're learning more about the neurobiology, neuropsychology of the practice, but really it's just reaffirming the things that yoga said for a really long time. Using the body to heal the body. Deep breath in and exhale. That's a study that's talked about in Kamini Desai's book. Yeah, release, very, very gentle. Let's do one more for the arms, for that front body. This one's kind of chest, pec major, minor, and getting in the bicep. So maybe grab like towel strap, and you could stack like the wrist above the elbow. We're just gonna gentle stretch here. Yeah, go slow. There's really so much healing that we can do with the body. And when we know about the different practices of, yoga, martial arts, right? All these different amazing ancient teachings, we can find better ways to heal the self. But it's also very important that we honor and respect all of the teachers and the people that carried these lineages, because for a very long time, we couldn't just do whatever kind of yoga we wanted or whatever kind of kung fu we wanted. These were practices that were hidden and they were secrets of families. And honestly, that's for good reason, because remember, with great power comes great responsibility. What do you do when you realize how hard you can hit, right? What do you do when you realize that Shavasana is hypnotism? So the practices were passed in a way that was very cautious of the person accepting the teachings. Good. Release there, take it slow. Awesome. Okay, we're just going to do a couple more of these physical shapes. I want us to do this. So next I want you to do something that's going to be for that glute area. Some of you might just like cross your ankles, lean it forward. This one has to do with the bones. If you love that double pigeon where you like stack the right ankle above the left knee, if this knee drops down and there's no knee issues, but you feel a nice back and like glute bum tissue stretch, that could be the one. For some of you, it's going to be better to do more like a Gomukhasana, where it's more like the knees are stacked. Yeah. So I want you to pick one of those. The other option I'm going to give, especially if we're newer, you could always do like just on the back where you have like one foot on the ground and the other leg crossed, maybe hands here. Yeah, whichever variation you want. I'm going to do that one seated just with the ankles crossed. You might be joining me. And for my advanced students, whatever piece you're working on, if you're doing sleeping swan or something different, yeah, let it be your own. Okay. Couple minutes here. Find that very, very first stretch, just take it super, super slow. When we practice together often, you get to hear my same boring stories, and many of you have heard me talk about an experience I had when I was in Rishikesh, India many years ago. And Rishikesh is the holy yoga city of the world. And I would go down some mornings by the Ganges and I would talk with different yoga practitioners and teachers. And one day I was talking to this guy who had on like a traditional, like marigold colored, like sadhu loincloth. He had beautiful dreadlocks that were like 20 feet long. He'd never cut his hair. And he told me that he had been meditating by the Ganges for about 40 years. And I told him that I taught yoga in America. And he was like, that's awesome. He was like, that's great. He's like, yoga's so hard. He said, that's amazing that you as Americans would get into yoga. He said, because I just have to sit by the Ganges and meditate. He said, but yoga is going to ask more of you. Yoga will ask that you are parents and, bosses and students. And he said, you'll have to be all those things, but you'll be yogis too. And he said that this is really great that yoga, is expanding. And he said, I know in the West, you're all very interested in the shapes of yoga. And he said, do you want to see some of the shapes of yoga? And I said, sure. And he proceeded to show me the most challenging, like Ashtanga, third, fourth series, like crazy contortionist poses. And he sort of laughed as he was doing them. And afterward, he said, those don't really matter. He said, when I tell people that the fastest way to enlightenment is sitting in lotus or laying in Shavasana, he said, they never believe me, but it's true. And in my young 20s, when he told me that, the truth is, I don't know if I believed him either, but I sort of did because I knew that he knew some things that I definitely didn't know, many things that I didn't know. And what I realize now is what he was saying is that the asana, it's not that it doesn't matter, but that the fastest way to enlightenment is through meditation. And what he was saying is it's through Shavasana and Nidra. This is affirmed by all of our studies and all modern neurobiology. The asana and the physical part of yoga, it's just the beginning. It's often the thing that brings us into the practice. But especially now when Nidra is becoming more popular, now we have access to these subtle practices. So let us use them. Let Nidra become part of our yoga practice. Do this, every week. Toward the end, I'll recommend some really cool people who are holding classes like this every week because Nidra might be part of what you need the most. Good. Take a breath here. And exhale. Release slow. Anything that you want in between before we come to the second side. It's often when it looks like we're doing nothing, it's like when we're doing yin, it might not look like much when we're in Shavasana. It's like, it doesn't look like much, but actually this is a lot of times where the most is going on. So just keep going, be proud of yourselves. Okay, second side, we'll do the same. We're just gonna do a couple more and then we practice Nidra. And again, as we're practicing, we're starting to think more about that sankalpa, more about the seeds that we plant. Just breathing here. Noticing details. Are the sides at all different? Are we carrying any stress or tension in the body? Keep breathing, keep letting go. We're bringing our brain into the daydream state now. And even at this moment, you're not only prepping yourself for Nidra, but you're prepping yourself for better sleep tonight. Okay, good. Now release there. Go super, super slow. And release. Take anything again that we want in between. In the ancient traditions of yoga, one of the things that is commonly done, and this is also in lots of traditions, like where I grew up in Alaska, this is part of a tradition too, where you would go and you might go out for a few days in the woods to be alone. What tribes, what communities realized, what the yogis realized, what people realized was that that time alone, it not only produced an introspection, but when we have that sort of solitude and when we're listening to trees and rocks and when we can hear things in a different way, it's also easy to slip into that space that is Nidra like. So that, if we sit and meditate in a field, you might fall asleep, right? You might find yourself quickly in that space in between. And so again, yogis knew for a long time that by valuing time set aside for relaxation and introspection and daydreaming, this was one of the fastest ways toward enlightenment. Grab your pillow. We're going to do just a piece for the inner hip, and then we'll start to come toward that Nidra space. We'll do one twist also. So do this. I want you to put that pillow under your left knee. I'm going to show you this from a couple different angles. So the goal here is to get some stretch in your front hip. So I've got my right leg forward and I want to feel that front right hip. Listen to your body though. Some of you will find it's better to kind of like lift out of it. Sometimes we have to drop the hands down. Some of you are going to find it's way better to bring the hands on the inside or even like climb down. So whatever feels right for the body. Yeah, a couple minutes, find that quad work. Very good. Not everything dreams. We know that REM dreaming is the new kid on the evolutionary block because we see that while all creatures experience NREM, deep sleep, not everything dreams. And humans' dreams are very different. We not only dream much more, but our dreams are rich and provide creativity and emotional processing. One of the things I was thinking about recently is I was thinking about how trippy it must have been when people were first dreaming and what it would be like to start to realize that you were dreaming. It's like I've had experiences, maybe you've had this where like, I've bought a dress or something in my dreams and then the next day I'm like, "Oh, the dress isn't real, right? It happened in the dream." Well, imagine, that you had in your, you know, life picked berries and you went to go get the berries and they're not there. It would be the strangest thing to start to recognize that what you thought had happened hadn't, right? Or that this whole other universe where different things exist is possible. And so I was just thinking about how phenomenal it is that we dream. And not only that, but that we're learning more even now about our dream realm. Only now are we starting to understand it's a huge part of what makes us human. Keep breathing. Notice where we hold tension. Good. Exhale, release there. Just take it super, super slow. Yeah, feel that rebound in the body. And be sure to take what you want in between the two sides. And we're going to switch sides and then we'll take our twist and then we'll be going into Nidra. So, what you're going to do, if you're following me, support that right knee. So now we take our left leg forward. This one could be pretty different. Yeah, just approach it slow. Make sure that knee is really supported and we're breathing here. Our fears, our dreams, our desires, so much comes out through the dreams. But remember, like that symbol of the that swish is Maya, an illusion. And only by getting through that do we have access to Turiya and to enlightenment. What's interesting is that, in a way, We have to like slay our own dreams. We have to go through our own dream realm to be able to find that turiya. And that process, often that power of the self comes from lucid dreaming. Because when you can control the dreams, the self changes. You realize that there is this ability to be rooted way beyond what we imagine, even beyond just the waking state. And so, one of our goals as yogis is dreaming, but also to start to work on lucid dreaming. Good. Breathing. Very good. That's the way. Now we release it and we take it slow. Yeah, anything that we want in between. Now, the final piece that will be for the yin section is going to be your choice for a twist. And again, part of why I started doing this was I realized that if we went right into nidra, sometimes if we're exhausted, we just fall asleep. If we can sort of calm the system, really it's like we prep the body for that perfect kind of shavasana. But you might fall asleep in the next pose. I'm going to give you a lot of silence for this next piece, and then you'll be kind of going into that nidra space. So you might want to go on the back and do a kind of gentle twist. I recommend the gentle one so that the body can really, really release. So on the back, you would do the one where both the knees come in and then you drop both the knees to the side. And you might reach that opposite arm out. So, yeah, any props that you want, I want you to be as comfortable as possible. If you already know you'd rather do that deer variation, this is where you could do deer. You might grab pillows, blankets, bolster. This would be the way. So if I'm seated, my left foot would come into midline or sort of toward there, and I could take that right knee back. You might even take this left foot kind of closer to that right knee, and then you'd be turning in this direction. So I could use my props, and like if some of you might want to stack a lot of stuff here. So I've got one hand on either side. This is one where the way that you turn the head can really change what you feel. So yeah, let it be your own. You can kind of feel that out. So again, you can have that left foot more to midline, my right knee's bent, so my right foot's back. I'm turning toward that left leg, and then you might lean into it. You could also be up here. You can do this without props, but if you use props, it will allow you to get a lot more comfortable today. So I'm going to really recommend, yeah, find that space. Okay, whichever piece you're doing, find that first twist, and we'll do a couple minutes there. I'm intentionally giving you a lot of space here as we begin to move into that even quieter, more yin realm. Exhale. Release. Go super, super slow. Yeah, take anything that we want in between. And we'll come to that second side. And then after this, I'll give you just a couple of minutes. So if you want to like go to the bathroom or anything before we come into Nidra. So now we take that twist to the second side, and you might take that deer variation, or you might be dropping the knees over. Yeah, second side. As we're starting to think about our sankalpa, know that even the language that we use is important. Know that the sankalpa, that the seeds that we plant in Nidra, they really work, but we have to be patient, and we can do Nidra often. Deepak Chopra, who's actually very famous, he's a really cool teacher. He actually talks about getting into yoga because he wanted to quit smoking, which I think is awesome. But he ended up falling really in love with it, and he and his team, they do a lot of studies now in neurobiology of yoga. And he says, I do nidra every day. Like you might find some practices and they become a huge part of your yoga practice. So know that you can do the nidra often. Breathing here. Notice if it's different to twist on one side compared to the other. And exhale. Very, very gentle release. Now you might take like happy baby, do whatever feels right. And in the next 2 minutes or so, I really encourage you to maybe grab water if we need it, or go to the bathroom, anything that we need. And when you're ready, you're going to make your way to a very, very comfortable and very warm Shavasana. So take a few minutes and we prepare for Yoga Nidra. You might want to dim the lights if we're in a space where that's possible. Get very, very warm as you come to Shavasana and to our practice of Yoga Nidra. Take about another minute before we begin. The Nidra that I bring you today is very traditional. It's from the Swami Satyananda Saraswati variation. And what I find is that this can be really good in getting us into a deep and meditative state. When we are visualizing the lotus flower, what I want you to imagine how a lotus grows up and out of the water. So as you are in Shavasana, the lotuses are actually growing like up and out of the chakras. And so that's how we imagine them, as if they're growing like up and out. If you're laying on your back, they're growing up. So as you come to this space, as we get ready for Nidra, by now, hopefully we know our Sankalpa and we are prepared. Let us begin. Now get ready for the practice of Yoga Nidra. Lie down and cover yourself, at least the feet if necessary. The head should be resting on the mat. Close the eyes and lie in Shavasana, palms facing upwards, feet a little apart. Any movement you want to make, please do it now. Then you should not allow yourself to move physically for at least the next 30 minutes. Keep the eyes and the mouth closed if possible. Stop all physical movement and lie completely motionless, releasing completely in Shavasana. The body is quiet, but under your control. You are still conscious, although you are not allowing the body to move. No physical movement. No movement of the toes, fingers, head, or legs. No quivering of any part of the body. No tightening of any muscles. No stretching of the body. Now take your awareness inside. Begin to investigate the whole physical body. Every joint and muscle should be completely relaxed. Relax the palms, fingers, feet, toes, ankles, calf muscles, knees, thighs, hamstrings, buttocks, back, shoulders, chest, arms, elbows, hands, head, and neck. Relax the whole body. Investigate if there is any tension. If there is tension, loosen it. If the muscles are tight, release them. Now there should be no more physical movement. During the period of Yoga Nidra, you should not move the physical body. No physical movement should take place under any circumstances, no matter what sensations you may feel, no matter what happens, you should not move the physical body. This is the first and most important condition for Yoga Nidra. You are also not supposed to sleep. Yoga Nidra is the practice to make you more and more aware, to raise the subtle inner awareness, not the gross upper layer. Let the whole body remain quiet for some time and work with the subtle awareness. Now that your whole physical body is quiet and not moving, try to experience all the subtle movements in the body. The physical body is moving on its own without effort, in spite of all control. Which parts are moving? Where is the movement? Can we feel the heartbeat? Are the feet moving? Are the toes, fingers, or thighs twitching? Is the head turned to one side? Is the chest or the stomach moving? Yes, the stomach is moving forward and back, up and down. You are not doing this. It is happening on its own. You are not going to stop it, just watch it. How does all this movement take place? Have you discovered the reason for the movements of the navel, the stomach, the abdomen, and the chest? They seem to be expanding and contracting a little bit all of the time. The breath is flowing in and out. And as a result, the chest seems to be expanding and contracting just a little. In the throat, between the collarbones, there also seems to be some movement. The depression of the throat seems to be moving upward and downward with respiration. The breath is flowing in and out through the nostrils. The breath is the cause of all this inner movement, even causing palpitation in Sushumna and between the two eyebrows. In spite of all your control, movement is still occurring in the physical body. This has been going on by itself all the 24 hours and from the moment you were born. Become aware of this movement, the movement of the breath, the inspiration and expiration through the nostrils. This breath is causing movement in many parts of the body. The grossest movement occurs in the abdomen, stomach, heart, chest, throat, and nostrils. These are the grosser movements which I am bringing to your notice. Of course, the whole body is vibrating. Each and every hair of the body and all the pranas are moving, but ordinarily we are unaware of it. The breath is going in and out through the nostrils. Particularly watch this process of the breath. The movement seems to be from the navel up to the throat in, and from the throat down to the navel out. Keep on watching. Just witness it. This is Sakshi Bhava, attitude of witnessing. Now let your consciousness rotate between the throat and the navel. The movement of the breath may be through the nostrils, but the consciousness must go from the navel to the throat and from the throat to the navel. Before beginning the actual practice of Yoga Nidra, we make a sankalpa, a short resolve. A resolve can be of three types: material, mental, or spiritual. First, you must choose which kind of resolve you want to make. Some people resolve to get rid of bad habits, cure their sickness, serve humanity in a certain way, achieve some siddhi or mysterious power. But it is better not to waste the power of the sankalpa on small things. For a person that is wise makes a sankalpa to attain divine qualities or to achieve progress on the spiritual path. Therefore, consider well before making your sankalpa. Choose one thing as your resolve for Yoga Nidra. You are free to make your own choice. Make any resolve, whatever you think of. The sankalpa should be very brief, only a few words. The same sentence should always be used whenever you repeat the sankalpa. The wording should not change, even if the meaning stays the same. Every time you practice Yoga Nidra, meditation, or any sadhana, you should remember your sankalpa in the beginning and repeat it a few times. You can decide on a sankalpa now. Although you don't have to hurry in choosing your resolution, you can make it now if you know what you want to achieve, what you want to be, or what you want to do in your life. Make a resolve and fix the language of that resolve. Don't make the resolve today in English, tomorrow in Italian, or the next day in Hindi. Whichever phrase and language you choose, it should always be the same until the resolve is fulfilled. The sankalpa made during the practice of Yoga Nidra is always fulfilled. It never fails, but you cannot be impatient. You must wait patiently and keep practicing it. Repeat the sankalpa mentally. Now again, continue with your breath awareness. Make sure you are not moving your physical body. Keep the sleep away and avoid becoming unconscious. Do not become lost in thought. Remain conscious and aware of what I am saying. Follow consciously and not mechanically. Know that you are following what it is that I am saying. Now I will guide you through the different parts of your physical body. One by one, I will take your consciousness to each and every part of your physical body. At the same time, you will visualize each part and repeat its name mentally. You are not going to make any physical movements. You are only going to move the consciousness. Visualize that particular part which I will name and say the name mentally. Go along with me at the same speed. I will move from one part to another, and you will follow along with your awareness. Get ready to move your consciousness. Do not move your body. Now visualize the right hand thumb and say mentally, right hand thumb. Second finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. Fifth finger. Visualize all 5 fingers together. Palm of the hand. Back of the hand. Wrist. Forearm. I am guiding you along the right side. I will tell you when to change to the left one. Visualize the right elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, right chest, side, waist, hip, buttock, thigh, hamstring, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole, top of the foot, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, all 5 toes together. Now take your consciousness to the left side, just as we were visualizing the parts of the right side. Now we will visualize those parts on the left side. Start with the left hand thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, all 5 fingers together. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, left chest, side, waist, hip, buttock, thigh, hamstring, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, all 5 toes together. Now I will take you from your toes up to the crown of the head. Be prepared. Make your consciousness ready to move from the toes up to the head. Right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, all the 5 right toes together. Left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, all 5 toes together. Visualize all the left toes together. Now move your consciousness right and left as I say the parts alternately. Right sole, left sole, both soles together. Right heel, left heel, both heels together. Right ankle, left ankle, both ankles together. Right calf muscle, left calf muscle, both calf muscles together. Right knee, left knee, both knees together. Right thigh, left thigh, both thighs together. Right hamstring, left hamstring, both hamstrings together. Right buttock, left buttock, both buttocks together. Right hip, left hip, both hips together. Waist, lower abdomen, upper abdomen, whole of the abdomen, right side of the chest, left side of the chest, whole chest, right collarbone, left collarbone, center of the collarbones, throat, right shoulder, left shoulder, right arm, left arm, right elbow, left elbow, right hand, left hand, right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, all 5 fingers together. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, left hand thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, all 5 fingers together. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, shoulders, upper back, middle back, lower back, right side of the back, left side of the back, whole of the spine, back of the neck, front of the neck, the whole neck, chin, lower lip, upper lip, both lips together, teeth, tongue, right cheek, left cheek, both cheeks, right nostril, left nostril, both nostrils, tip of the nose, whole of the nose, right eyelid, left eyelid, right eyeball, left eyeball, both eyeballs together, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, eyebrow center, right temple, left temple, forehead, back of the head, crown of the head, whole face, whole head. Now we will take the body in parts, whole right arm, whole left arm, whole right leg, whole left leg, whole front, whole back, whole right side of the body, whole left side of the body, whole body together, whole body together, whole body together. See the whole physical form lying on the floor as though you are standing outside the body. Become aware of the touching points between the floor and your physical body. Become aware of the parts of your whole physical body absorbing energy from the floor. Be aware of the front part of your body deriving prana from the air. Feel the vibrations of prana moving through your body. As a result of this practice, the physical body has become completely quiet. Become aware of the other physical bodies. Be aware of me instructing you in the practice and of you following along mentally. Experience tranquility, peace, and quiet. Become aware of the whole environment in your whole body, whole body, whole body, whole body. Please do not sleep. This is the secret of Yoga Nidra. You should not sleep, especially if you are practicing for spiritual gain. In the practice of Yoga Nidra, you are neither sleeping nor awake, but somewhere in between. The consciousness is functioning with a little bit of awareness. If you want to achieve the state of Yoga Nidra, avoid sleep. Do not become lost in thought. Try to not become unconscious. Do not listen mechanically. Listen to the instructions carefully. Follow them. Practice what is said. Now visualize the whole body lying on the floor, completely relaxed and tranquil. Feel the body becoming very hot. Try to experience the sensation of heat throughout the body. Recall the feeling of being very, very hot, whether due to summer sun, a heater, or warm clothing. Try to create the sensation of heat now. Try to feel the sensation of heat exactly as you have experienced it in the past. And if you have never felt extreme heat, then try to feel it now. Next, reverse the feeling. Try to feel cold, shivering cold, as if you are standing outside in an icy wind, wearing only thin clothing. How chilled we would feel. We try to feel that coldness through conscious effort because there is no cold wind here. There are no external influences affecting the body to make you feel cold. Create this sensation of cold with your consciousness. Try to experience this cold. Now try to experience heaviness in the physical body. The body is becoming heavier and heavier. It has become so heavy that you are unable to move any part. You are unable to raise even an eyelid. You are not even able to wiggle the toes or the fingers. The body has become so heavy. Now experience the sensation of lightness through the body, not heaviness, but lightness. Feel the body becoming lighter and lighter and lighter as if completely weightless. The body is so light as a piece of cotton. Try to experience the lightness of your physical body. Now we will go into chakra awareness. Visualize just your spine lying on the floor. Only the spine and not any other part of the body. Feel as if you are standing nearby and watching it. At the very bottom of the spine, see a stem emerging from the inside. At the top of this stem, a flower is forming, and around the flower are several leaves. Beautiful green, round leaves with drops of dew glistening on them like pearls. If you shake the leaves, the pearls fragment into many small beads. If you shake them again, the small beads come together again and they form big pearls. As you shake the leaves, the water comes together and then disperses and fragments. The lotus flower at Muladhara is dark red with 4 petals. You are looking at it from the top because the root is underneath the spinal cord, which is lying on the floor. Then at the base of the spine in Swadhisthana, see these vermilion lotus with 6 petals. The leaves also have drops of water on them, just like those in Muladhara. You can shake them in the same way as you did in Muladhara, and all the water disperses into many pearl-like drops. The water never touches the petals of the lotus flower. Though the lotus is rooted in the bottom of the pond and it rises up through the water, yet its petals are never wet. Therefore, the sages and yogis advise us always to be as detached from everything in the whole universe as the lotus leaf is from the water, completely non-attached. The lotus comes from the water. It only survives due to the water, yet it does not get wet. The water cannot touch it. In the same manner, we all live in the world. We eat and enjoy and suffer. We practice sadhana and do many things. But yet we should be detached from all of this. And now at Manipura, behind the navel, visualize a 10-petaled yellow lotus. See the leaves underneath, sparkling with pearl-like drops of dew. Behind the heart, at Anahata chakra, see a 12-petaled blue lotus. It also has many leaves underneath, covered with many fine drops of dew. Visualize this. At Vishuddhi, behind the throat, is a 16-petaled purple lotus with many leaves under it and dewdrops shining on them like pearls. At Ajna, behind the eyebrow center, see a 2-petaled gray lotus with 2 leaves beneath it, covered with dewdrops like pearls. And the radiant full moon is above them, about 3 inches away. Above Ajna chakra, at the top back of the head, is Bindu. There you will find the bright full moon. And if you go still further, above the full moon, another 3 inches away, you see the 1,000-petaled bright red lotus at Sahasra. There are so many petals in Sahasra, and the water droplets are like gleaming corals all around the bottom of them. Now go to the moon again. It is so quiet, tranquil, peaceful, and cool. Then go to Ajna. See the dewdrops on the leaves in Ajna, in Vishuddhi, in Anahata, in Manipura, in Swadhisthana, in Muladhara. As the moonlight strikes them, the drops of water on the leaves shine like hundreds of jewels. Some look simple like pearls, and other, they look like coral. It depends on your angle of vision. They are shining like diamonds, like nuggets of gold and silver, like many moons, like stars. And the flowers are only able to be seen due to the light reflected from those brightly shining jeweled drops. Again, visualize Muladhara with all the leaves and dewdrops on them, then Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Ajna, Bindu, Sahasra. In Sahasra, we see the 1,000 petals, see the leaves with the droplets of water shining like jewels. Feel the qualities of the different chakras and whatever sensations are emanating from them. Again, Sahasra, Bindu, Ajna, Vishuddhi, Anahata, Manipura, Swadhisthana, Muladhara. Now place your whole physical body on a lotus flower. Your whole physical body is lying relaxed on the lotus, and the flower is merging into your physical body. Now we get ready to end our practice. Remember your sankalpa. Repeat it mentally. Without opening the eyes, you may quietly sit up. You may place the palms over the eyes and hold them there for some time. Now bring them down and move the physical body gradually, quietly, without stretching or touching anyone else. Just sit with the head straight, eyes closed, and palms on the knee. We close with these words. We chant the sound of Om 3 times. Breathe in deeply. Very, very slowly. Move the fingers. We gently open the eyes. Bring the hands to the heart. Remember your sankalpa. Remember that all the things that we do, all the things that we say, all the energetic arrows that we shoot, they matter and they have big impact inside of us and all around us. May the practices of yoga and nidra and meditation make us better in every way. We close, and I say to you, and you say to me, Namaste. And thank you all so, so much for being here. What I'm going to do now, and I realize that the first section in the beginning, the lecture that I taught, did not record. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to pause this video. For those of you that will be watching it recorded, the lecture I'm actually going to have at the end, but I'm going to pause this for a moment. And so if you're here with me live and you have any questions, this is the time to be sure to let me know. And of course, send me your email and I'll send you the recordings. Yay, okay, so I'm putting this toward the end. For those of you that saw this live, you got to hear this section, but I realized later that it didn't record it. So I'm coming back through and I'm putting this toward the end because I would never want all of you to miss this. So like I said, I actually, I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but I wanted to put this toward the end because we don't want to miss this. So for starters, I have a whole bunch of books that I recommend. This is the Yoga Nidra book, which is by Kamini Desai. One thing I do want to note though, because my work and my background is in interpersonal neurobiology, I always bow to science. And so honestly, why we sleep is really our kind of head and know-all for sleep. So there are actually things in this book that I honestly don't agree with, but it's because this book had not come out yet. So a lot of the information that we know now on sleep, this is like the head of it, but I really recommend that book. Also, if we're interested in lucid dreaming, I really recommend this. I know it seems completely ridiculous, but it totally works, I promise. The piece that I read today is actually from a very traditional Nidra book. And one thing that I wanted to note, so I had mentioned this in the beginning, but I'm going to read this to you now. When we're talking about the history of Nidra, we have to understand that a lot of it traditionally is coming from Swami Shivananda Saraswati, and that's who taught Satyananda Saraswati. And so what's interesting is that we have this story of sort of the origin of Nidra, and you can read about it in the kind of blue Nidra book, where it talks about how there was a man who was essentially, he would hear, and he didn't know he was hearing Vedic chants from these young people in the morning. And he started to realize that when he was in this sort of half awake, half asleep state, he could memorize a lot of content. What he figured out, though, are actually some of the oldest teachings in yoga, which were actually hidden. And so, like I had said I would do, I talk about and I break down the symbol of Om, because one of the most fascinating things is that, yoga starts like this, right? Where you have 500 years of meditation. and you have nothing else for the first 500 years. Then when the poses develop, they're really basic. They're like 12 poses that are all seated, and you have Shavasana. But what happens really early on, and what Bernie Clark says, and I'm going to read this, is that there comes this point really early on where yogis start figuring out, okay, yoga is really powerful. And in particular, Shavasana is really powerful. And so with this great power comes great responsibility. So Bernie Clark actually opens his book by telling us this. This is like the first section, the introduction. Modern yoga has sprung from a figurative forest of many different styles of yoga with many varied intentions. And in the earliest records of ancient India, yogis were mythical beings with powers that could transcend this physical realm. One particular tree germinating in this fertile forest about 1,000 years ago is called Hatha Yoga, which means the forceful yoga. Hatha Yoga, distinct from the other trees in the yoga forest, was primarily designed to strengthen the body and prepare it for other forms of yoga. These forms could be the meditative practices that lead to liberation and enlightenment, but Hatha Yoga could also be a path toward developing not so good arts and not so good magic. And many Hatha yogis were famed for their prowess as warriors, and they were hired as mercenaries. So truly, with great power comes great responsibility. And what yoga started to realize, a huge part of what started happening, was that they realized with all this power, they were like, well, these practices, right? These practices are so powerful. We don't just want anyone to have them. So a lot of what they figured out, they actually coded into a symbol, and they sort of hid it in plain sight. They also were like, okay, Shavasana is the most important pose. What do we do? It's like, we don't want people to know that, but we don't want it to be lost. And so they were like, okay, we'll tell everyone that Shavasana is the most important pose because they'll never believe us anyway. But it really is the most important pose. So Shavasana, which is this symbol, right, which looks like one symbol, is many pieces. And what it breaks down to is we have Vaishvanara, we have the waking state, but we have Taijasa, we have dream realm, we have Prajna, which the ancient Upanishad text, the Mandukya, describes as a not dreaming state. It's more like deep sleep. These texts are so old, but that's exactly what modern neurobiology has found. So yoga knew that we didn't just sleep, but we had different types of sleep. They talk about Maya, which is illusion, and this ability to break through and into Turiya, which is enlightenment. So we don't just focus on being awake. That's like the smallest slice of our practice. We're not only getting to know more about the dream realm and working on the deep sleep, but as yogis, part of our work is also to become lucid dreamers. Now, I want to show this real quick because, again, I had done this in the beginning, and I'm so sorry that it didn't record. But this is one thing I want us to know also. So this is, thousands of years in the symbol of Om. But what modern neurobiology has discovered is that when you sleep, you actually don't just sleep, you have two completely different types of sleep, which are the NREM and the REM. And your REM is the dream realm. But when you're in the NREM, this is the deep sleep. There's no dreams here. And check this out. I'm going to show you this. I'm very visual. I like this drawing. So each of these represents 90 minutes. And when you sleep at night, you have these 90-minute sleep containers. So even though we've got the REM and the NREM, we actually have different levels of each, depending on where we are, like at that part of the night. So I'm going to show you. So the REM is going to be represented with this marker. Sorry, I just realized it's like slanting down. That's kind of funny. Okay, so with the marker, I'm going to show you in black here where the dreams are. So in the first part of the night, you have a lot of NREM and you don't have a lot of dreams. So in the first part of the night, you just have a little bit of dreams. As you go further into the night, you have more REM. And as you go further into the night, there's more and more. So that when you get toward like the very end of your sleep cycle, that's when you have the richest dream realm. And so if you are only sleeping 7 hours, right? If you cut out that last hour of sleep, it's like you didn't just lose an hour of sleep, you also might have lost like 90% of your dreams. So this is important in Nidra because NREM is the first spot that we head into, right? We go straight into that NREM. And what that means is that when we're practicing Nidra, we start to maybe enter into that NREM and that deep sleep realm. But what we find is that that space is really, really important in memory transfer. And what yoga has said for a very long time, and what modern neurobiology knows now, and what, to be completely honest, I have found out like even the military is learning about, is that absolutely when we go into Shavasana and when we are in that space where we're heading into sleep, that NREM area is not only important in memory transfer, but it's almost as if everything said to us there is sort of coded into the brain, right? It's sort of a hypnotic state because that's exactly what it is. Remember that modern hypnotism, that is actually, from England. The English had occupied India, but really modern hypnotism is just, it's Nidra. So with great power comes great responsibility. And what we now know is that, you can, for example, if we like repeat something and if we're really working on putting like a red sort of flag, like putting a flag on something in the brain, then it absolutely will not only go through that memory transfer, but it affects our experience and that process. So if we use the sankalpa, which in the practice of Nidra is the seed that we plant, right? This is our intention, the deep intention. If we use this in a really positive way, then what we can do is we can take this intention in the waking state. It's like we're really saying, okay, I want to focus on this. We're putting a lot of energy into it. And what we're doing by tagging it, we're actually telling our sleeping and even our dreaming brain, this is important. I want to work on this more. I want to think about this more. This is a big deal. And it actually, it affects the way that the brain holds that information and wants to work more on it. So there is actually a lot of science and a lot of data behind how Sankalpa works. But again, with great power is great responsibility. So what do we do when we realize that, yin and these practices of Nidra are so powerful and they can really affect the experience? This is one of the reasons that these practices were hidden for so long, because it does have this element of hypnotism, and in the past there was fear of brainwashing and things like mind control, very truly. And so when we practice Nidra, a lot of times I would say, like if you do something on YouTube, I would say always listen to a Nidra once before you do it. If we don't know the Nidra, so just always make sure, because we want to know who's hypnotizing us and what we're listening to. But know that the practices are very real. And then if we use them with this positive intent, they're very, very successful. A couple other things I wanted us to note, because again, in the beginning, I know that I had mentioned some of this and I didn't want us to lose out on any of this. One thing that I know that I had mentioned was this whole theory of sleep and dreams. Dr. Walker talks about that and how we don't sleep and dream like anything else. And a lot of what makes us human is how rich our dream realm is. And so that's a big part of it too, is we're getting to know more about how we're focusing not just on our physical practices of yoga, but we start to move into these deeper subtle practices where we're going to observe our dream realm, and you might even be like writing things down. But I also want us to think about starting to actively attempt that lucid dreaming. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you and I love you. You can always check out more of my information at my website, saraswatihewitt.com. Be sure to let me know if you have any questions. You can send me an email. I have regular classes, workshops that are available. I do a regular Wednesday night Zoom class, and a couple people I really highly recommend to check out if you're interested in Nidra. My buddy Rosie Acosta is amazing because she does she's big time into sleep and Nidra, and you can check her out. So for some regular classes. Also, my buddy Ali G, I'll post her later so you can check out some of her work as a Nidra teacher also. Be sure to let me know if we have any questions at all, and thank you so, so much. And thank you, truly, my family really appreciates your donations. You can send them through Venmo or PayPal. And as always, just know that I do this because I love you all so much, and I'm so grateful. If you need to send this to other people, or if you have people that you think might be interested, feel free to send the video along, or just tell me if you want me to send an email to anyone else. Cool. Thank you all so much. Bye, everyone.